Hello, everyone, my precious brothers and sisters. I want you to take a moment, if you will, and just imagine what if the disciples of Yeshua, all 12, were alive today, living in the United States of America, and they all had YouTube channels. I want you to think about that just for a moment as we begin our day. I want to take you to the living word. I want to take you to the book of Psalm. Don't turn off the channel. This is so very important. I'm going to read from the Bible, the Gospel. I want to read Psalm 21. Please listen to this entire video. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord pondereth the hearts. To do justice and judgment is more acceptable to the Lord than a sacrifice, and high look in a proud heart, and the plowing of the wicked is sin. The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but of every one that is hasty only to want. The getting of treasures by a lying tongue is a vanity tossed to and fro from them that seeketh death. The robbery of the wicked shall destroy them, because they refuse to do judgment. The way of man is froward and strange, but as for the pure, the work is right. It is better to dwell in a corner of the housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house. The soul of the wicked desireth evil. His neighbor findeth no favor in his eyes. When the scorner is punished, the simple is made wise, and when the wise is instructed, he receiveth knowledge. The righteous man wisely considereth the house of the wicked, but God, Yahweh, overthroweth the wicked for their wickedness. Whoso stoppeth his ears at the cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard. The book of Psalm 21, 1 through 13. All right, everyone, let's go to announcements. Be sure to join us at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight for our live Rapture Ready Church over at Tiny Chat. Praise and worship music begins at 6:30. Please be part of our church family. Come as you are, and come expecting, and come believing. Go to tinychat.com/Pastor Dave. Ministry announcements. There are no announcements to report. There have been no offerings to report. Nothing has come in for our ministry to the homeless. I'm going to have my coffee. Let me know what you're going to share with PD. Do that now in the comment section. Then I'm going to take a look at what if the disciples, the apostles, were alive in the world today, living not in Bethlehem, not in Jerusalem, not in Israel, but living in hometown USA. And they had YouTube channels. Let me know what you're going to share with PD. All right, what if the disciples were alive in the United States today, and they all had YouTube channels? I wonder how many subscribers they would have. I wonder how many would follow them, because they wouldn't come on their channel dressed in a suit or a suit jacket like a posh businessman. They would be dressed in what they normally would wear. And you would look at them and you would kind of wonder and ponder the notion, could they be homeless men? Where did they get the money for the internet and a webcam? Because they would be dressed in rags. They wouldn't come on and make you laugh and make you giggle and tickle your ears. I don't think they would get very many views, because they would just come on and preach the gospel of Yeshua, the gospel of Jesus Christ, and they would read from the living word. They would open up the Bible and they would read to you And when I look around the YouTube channels of our brothers and sisters, amen, today, and that's what they do. They have their YouTube channel and they just read from the living word. They get 3 or 4 views. 1 view. They wouldn't come out here and make you smile and make you laugh. And they wouldn't be preaching to you about cataclysmic events, apocalyptic type events, end of the world scenarios. They would be telling you about the love of a holy God. They wouldn't have anything for sale on their YouTube channels. They wouldn't even have a website. They would have no website with a button where you can buy coffee cups and travel mugs and CDs and DVDs. They would have nothing to offer you but the living word. I don't think they would be very popular. They wouldn't ask their congregations. They wouldn't ask their viewers and subscribers for anything. They wouldn't be on YouTube all day and into the late afternoon. They wouldn't have live broadcasts and programs. They wouldn't have time. They would be out there in the streets, in the cities of where they are residing in the United States. And they would be working the fields because the harvest is plentiful. They would be laborers. They would be rolling up their sleeves. They were poor. And they would be out there helping the poor. And they would be preaching to the lost and to the sinners. They wouldn't have time to be on YouTube all day. They wouldn't ask their YouTube followers, the very few they had, for money, for expenses to fly them back to the Holy Land. They wouldn't want to return in today's day and age back to the Holy Land because their heart would be breaking at what it's become. If they made a journey, it would be somehow by their own means. They wouldn't ask the congregation to fly them there, and if they were back to the Holy Land, they would be kneeling in the streets. They would be praying, and they would be weeping and fasting at what's become of the Holy Land, Jerusalem and Bethlehem, with the invasion of the Roman Catholic Church and the Vatican, with St. Peter's Basilica, keeping their Jesus, their Yeshua crucified on that cross. The invasion of the Roman Catholic Church, what has become of the Holy Land. To see their Messiah crucified, kept on that cross, and the Pope being given a seat in the throne room of King David. They would be weeping and praying and fasting without ceasing. They wouldn't ask for anything of you. They wouldn't sell anything on their YouTube channels. They would be the most unliked 12 on YouTube because they would go after them that sell on YouTube, these preachers and pastors and ministers, televangelists in the world. They would say, "My Father's house shall be called a house of prayer. You've turned it into a den of thieves." They wouldn't be very well liked. They wouldn't want their lifestyle to change, to have riches and wealth, material things of this world. They wouldn't have stately buildings to preach from. They wouldn't have airplane rides. They wouldn't have private jets or bodyguards. They'd want nothing to do with that. They lived very humble lives, and they would today if they were alive on and had YouTube channels. They wouldn't preach the prosperity gospel and promise that you are going to have all you desire today in this world. They would tell you that our Jesus said, and he instructed us to pick up that heavy cross. It's heavy, and follow me, to sell everything you own and to follow Jesus, because our reward is not here. It's in heaven. They wouldn't live in fancy apartments or $1 million mansions. They live their life poor, wherever they could lay their head, wherever they could find to sleep for the night, under the stars. Jesus, when he was on this earth, a little over 2,000 years ago, was a peasant. He was poor. The disciples were poor. And how did their life end? How did they live out their life? It wasn't in fancy hotel rooms and million-dollar mansions and big apartments and with a lot of money. And Father God didn't rain down wealth upon them. Let me tell you how their life ended. Let me go back to where I was here. Andrew was crucified. Bartholomew, he was beaten. And then he was crucified. James, the son of Alphaeus, was stoned to death. James, the son of Zebedee, was beheaded. John, precious John, exiled for his faith after a failed attempt to fry him in cooking oil. He died of an old age. Judas, not Iscariot, he was stoned to death. Matthew, precious Matthew, was speared to death. Peter was crucified upside down. Philip was crucified. Simon, crucified. Thomas was speared to death. Matthias was stoned to death. They didn't have stately buildings. They didn't have material things of this world. They didn't have the riches of this world. But let me tell you something. They turned the world upside down. They turned the world upside down. If they were alive today, I don't think they'd have very many subscribers to their channel. And I think they would be weeping. They would be fasting and praying. They'd be on YouTube maybe one video and they'd be out there with their sleeves rolled up, ministering to the poor, to the orphans, to the widows, to the lost and to the sinners. And they'd be praying for these YouTube pastors and these big televangelists, the Benny Hinn's and the Joel Osteens. They'd be praying for their soul. If you feel led to give to our ministry, to the homeless, we need your help. Time's running out. Leave me a comment.